Greetings. Hello again. This is my second video for the day. I am trying to get a couple of teaching videos in while I have the opportunity. So, trying to write down the topics that I know need to be covered and go ahead and cover those. So, this is one that definitely needs to be discussed because of the impact that it has upon our mindset as different genders. And what I mean by that is this has a great impact upon men and women trying to relate to each other. So, what I wanted to discuss was the fear of the matriarchy. And um, I've been aware of this fear, I guess, for about the past 20 years. Been studying African history, African culture for about 20 years, about 21 years to be exact. And my oldest daughter will be 22 next month. So started studying actually before she was born, so maybe more like 23 years. So yeah, been studying it for that long, and I've always encountered this fear of the matriarchy that is expressed by males, but is imposed upon females as well. So I wanted to discuss it a little bit. Whenever you mention the matriarchy to men, and whether you're speaking of the ancient matriarchies that existed in human history all over the world, or whether you're speaking of the resurgence and the return of the matriarchy that we're experiencing currently at this time, then you always come upon this resistance from males. And I have to speak from an African-centered perspective because that's my frame of reference. I don't really communicate with or socialize with or deal with people outside of that community. So the global African-centered community is what I'm referring to here because I haven't experienced it differently no matter where I may happen to be in the world. So I've experienced this fear the same in every place. So I'm speaking specifically of African-centered individuals, individuals who steep their lives within the consciousness of Africa, the cultures of Africa, the ancient philosophical thought of Africa. People who are trying to consciously return to the ancient path of their ancestors. They are trying to Sankofa, as our Akan ancestors would call it, return and fetch those things that were lost. So in particular, when you're speaking with this group of people, then you find a fear of the matriarchy. When I first began to study the culture 23 years ago, it was just a wholesale denial that it ever existed. The matriarchy, didn't exist. These are the rantings and ravings of European feminists, and as an African-centered woman, you were not allowed really to even think about that. That was not supposed to cross your mind. Now, as more and more research is coming forward, and as women are becoming empowered, oh, my good friend is arriving home. Hello.
Good evening, Mama. Good evening, Kamari. Are you supposed to be lying down? Okay,
everyone is just doing a little video making. Pay me no mind.
I was just like, you appear to be topless, so
I'm not.
Which is, not in keeping with the all on me that I know you.
So as more information, as more people get correct information, and as more people begin to pay closer attention to the information that they already had, because ancient African scholars and modern African scholars, I know I quoted Jacques the last time I was speaking, and I called him Diop because everyone used to tell me I was incorrect when I pronounced his last name Jacques. But I spoke to a Senegambian national, and she said that Jacques is correct. So it's Diop, but it's pronounced Jacques. So I spoke of him and how he stated beyond the shadow of a doubt that the basis for African culture and therefore for majority people culture was matriarchal. This was, the basis for the African-centered movement. People did not want to deal with this information. So we've come to a point in our development as a community where people are dealing with this information, where sisters are coming forward and being very comfortable with their own woman power and with the fact that their own lives are gynocentric. And where you have a great deal of brothers also coming forward and being very comfortable with leading matrifocal lives and understanding our ancient African ancestors as having been matrifocal or matriarchal or gynocentric, whichever term you choose. It means the same thing. But you still have those who are resistant to this information and those who are resistant to this truth. Say, hi.
Hi.
Tell them your name.
Nubia.
Hmm?
Nubia.
This is Nubia. So how old are you? 2. Okay. How old will you be on your birthday?
April 17th.
April 17th. That's true. How old will you be?
3.
That's right. Okay, we're going on in a minute now, right now. Go see what we want. Thank you. So, people are becoming more comfortable with this information, and as such, the mindset about it is having to change. But I find that by and large, there's still a great deal of fear of the matriarchy. This fear is based in, I think, actually one thing. I was going to say two things, but I think it's just one thing. And I think it is the thought process that if the world was ruled by women, that then women would want to. Okay, go ahead, baby. Would want to exact some sort of revenge for the manifold abuses that we have been victims of under the patriarchy. I think that's the fear that makes people say that, the matriarchy is dangerous, and it would be just as dangerous to have a matriarchal society as it has been to have a patriarchal society. And when they go on that vein and they say, I don't believe that ancient Africa was ever matriarchal or patriarchal, it was just an egalitarian society, which is interesting because all descriptions of matriarchal society say that they were egalitarian, meaning that both genders were treated equally. So let me piggyback on that statement. Both genders were treated equally. These were egalitarian societies. Let's move forward with that. What could be frightening about living your life in the embrace of your mother? There's nothing frightening about that. It's the life that we all want to live. If your mother is guiding the world, then the world would definitely be safe. The world would definitely be beautiful. The abundance of food would definitely be available for all. No one would be being made to starve for the sake of money. No one would be being made to starve for the sake of politics. This would not be how your mother moved. You watched your mother watch these things on television, and you saw how they touched her heart and hurt her to know that there were children anywhere starving. Or she made sure her own children weren't starving, and she looked and she felt sorrow for the starving of other children. So a matriarchal world, and the matriarchal world that existed prior to the coming of the patriarchy, was not a dangerous place. It was not a scary place. It wasn't scary for me, and history doesn't support that particular view. It was not anti-male. If a mother gives birth to sons as well as daughters, then how could the society be anti-male? If you are a man because you were born with a penis, was your mother anti you? She wasn't. More than likely, she wasn't. And I know that there are mothers out there who suffered abuses that didn't allow them to be good mothers. And I do understand that. But we all know that that's not the majority, and we all know that that's not the norm. So we can't allow those small minority of people who need some sort of healing to inform our thoughts about each other as genders. Because if I allowed that to inform my thoughts, then I would say that all men are abusive and domineering and controlling. That's not the case. That's not the nature of mankind. So if you were living your life and if the world was being held in the embrace of mother, would that be dangerous? Would you feel afraid? Would you feel as though you were being oppressed? The answer would have to be no. We grew up with our mothers. We heard our mothers and their expressions against oppression and how those types of things made them feel. This is what a matriarchy is. It is a world that's existing in the embrace of mother. So It is striving constantly and always for peace. It is striving constantly and always for balance. It is striving constantly and embracing the abundance of Earth Mother. And it is making sure that everyone gets something. The majority of African Americans, Americans of African descent, we didn't grow up with a lot of money, right? There are 9 children in my family, and we didn't have a lot of money. But when a birthday came around, or Christmas came around, or Easter came around, your parents and your grandparents would scrounge and do everything they could to make sure that everybody got something, right? Generally, everybody got more than one thing. So this is the mentality, the mindset of a matriarchy. This is how a mother or the mothers guided the world. Not ruled, because rule to me suggests oppression. Rule to me suggests domination. And remember, we learned from Dr. Marimba Ani, one of our current great guiding mothers, that to think that every relationship has to have someone who dominates and someone who submits is not an African way of thinking. So I wouldn't say that a matriarchy is a state even in which women rule. It's a state in which women are allowed to be in positions that will assist them in guiding the society toward balance, towards equality, towards harmony. Because it is women who bring harmony. It is mothers in particular who work very hard and strive very hard to bring and to maintain harmony. And I wish I knew this individual's name, because I hate to discuss something and not to give the information so that you can go and research it further. My mother taught us when we were little, when we were younger, to always consider the source. She said, whoever's speaking to you, look and see if their feet are touching the ground just like yours. And if they are, then that means that they don't know any more than you. So you always consider the source, and I say you always go and research what the person said and learn more. So I'm sorry that I don't know this individual's name, but there was a brother in India, and he created microloans to help individuals in his community start various types of businesses. And what he found was that if he gave these microloans to men, that the men would use the microloan to the upliftment of themselves. But if he gave the microloans to women, that the women would use the microloans for the upliftment of the entire community. So now he only gives his microloans to women. This is not denigration of anybody. This is simply the nature of the thing and how life works. So this is what it would be like. This is what it feels like to be in a matriarchal society. Think about your mother's home. It was always clean. There was always food. When she was allowed to have a position of power, it was peaceful, it was happy, it was productive, and it was uplifting for everyone who was there. This is what the matriarchy is like. No one, no matriarchal woman wants to take your power. I have no desire to deal with anything to deal with, or to try to be a leader in, or to try to take over anything that I consider to be masculine. I'm very comfortable within the power that is feminine. So I'm not there trying to take your position. I'm not there trying to take anything from you. I'm trying to give so that we can all have, so that it will be harmonious for everyone, and so that one gender is not here receiving all of the rewards while this other gender is here suffering. I'm trying to give so that that can become balanced, because while this one gender is suffering, then the children are always going to suffer, especially since this gender is the one that raises the children. So, from a matriarchal perspective, a matriarchal woman, a gynocentric woman, wants it to be balanced. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to move into your position. I'm not trying to take your power. I don't desire any of that. I want to make it so that we are able to share the resources of life and the goodness of life equally. This is what it means to live in a matriarchy. Matriarchy is not scary. Matriarchy is not frightening. Matriarchy is not about the demasculinization of men. That's not the purpose of the matriarchy. Think of it and understand it. What does mater mean? What does that term even mean? It means mother. So if your mother was ruling, what would it feel like? And unless you were one of those unfortunate people that had a mother who was extremely abusive, we have to all agree that that would be heavenly. We have to all agree that that would be blissful. We have to all agree that that would, for the most part, be ecstatic. Can you imagine the foods that we would be eating? Can you imagine the clothes that we would be wearing? Can you imagine the relationships that we would be having with one another? Because we would all feel so fulfilled and so loved. This is what the matriarchy feels like. This is where we're moving as a people. Not to any other place again where one gender is oppressed and another gender is holds itself up higher than that gender. That is not what a matriarchy is. A matriarchy is living embraced in the loving arms of mother. So, wanted to share that. Be blessed. May Oshun bless you richly. Please comment. If you need to make a video response, if you need to hit me up on my YouTube inbox, do what you've got to do. Check me out. Check my website out, www.osheturainstitute.com, OSHETURA Institute.com. I just created a mobile website today, so you can hit it up on your phone as well. So it's www.osheturainstitute.com. Check it out. All right. Hope that everybody is living, having a peaceful, productive, and blessed day. Oda.